welcome. We're all really excited to have you here for our kickoff concert for a relaunch. So just briefly before I introduce the performers, this is the product, the relaunch of mindful music, which is something many of us have felt is acutely needed in this time of a lot of disconnection, right? We've all been scattered, we've been isolated, we've had so many different unexpected transitions in our department, in our institute, and also just, across the country and the world. It's really a time to come together, and music in particular is uniquely suited for bringing us together and having a sense of connection and meaning in our work with each other. So that is really the goal of this mindful music series. Because we are the Sellars Institute for Neuroscience and Human Behavior, everything we do has some component of research. So I wanted to point out that there's a big QRS code behind me. And one of the members of the planning committee for this series that I'm going to introduce in a moment, Bilder, faculty member here. He actually does research on the impact of music on mental health in the brain and has helped us, what I'd like for you to do, he's helped us with a brief survey that we're going to ask you to take before and after the performance. And we plan to do this with each performance so that we can track what you think the impact has been of participating in a concert series. So if you could point your smartphones to the QRS code, your photo function, so that you can open the survey. And we're asking you to take the survey now while I do introductions, and then again at the end of the concert. It will only take a few seconds of your time. So in the meantime, I want to acknowledge the planners of this concert series who came together, spent time and a lot of thought on the Mindful Music Series relaunch, as well as more broadly an Arts and Healing initiative here in the Sellars Institute and the Psychiatry Department. They include Bilder, who I just mentioned, faculty member here, Kenneth Wells, Joe Mango, also Laurie Gordon, who is chair of our resident board, Peter Sellars, and Julia Carnahan, who are from the World Arts and Dance Program on North Campus, and also Erica Bath. So I just want to thank them for making this possible, and also a big round of applause for Ethel Rojas, who's in the front row, who did the beautiful flyers and organizing and meals. And there are a number of staff that I'm going to acknowledge at the end who provided support for this. But with no further ado, I've asked the musicians, who include our very own third-year psychiatry resident, Esther Kim, on violin, as well as her quartet members, Joseph Kaizer on cello, Susan on viola, and Shuo Zhai on piano. I've asked them to give a very brief self-introduction, answering what inspired you to play music, and also how did you end up playing together. So maybe I'll start with this.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for coming. I'm Esther Kim. I am a third-year psychiatry resident here. I began playing the violin when I was 5 years old. My father is a physician, my mom is a mathematician, but we always had music in our family growing up. We were always taking to concerts, and it's just always been a part of our lives. And so I started playing both piano and violin. Eventually decided to major in music, in violin performance, and carried that through until I was in my mid-20s, and then made the decision to go to medical school. But music has always been a part of my life, and just very ingrained in who I am. I guess we met because the music world is very small, very tiny, and we met through mutual friends. So Joe and I, we actually both went to medical school in North Carolina, but when we moved back, we wanted to kind of reintegrate and kind of explore the other musicians in LA, because I hadn't lived in LA in a while. And we just got connected through mutual friends and started playing, and this is kind of our, it's fun because we actually get together about every other week or every 3 weeks, and we just sit at home and we read through music, just sight read music, and it's part of our wellness. And we usually have these little dinner parties, and it's just a lot of fun. And so we're happy to kind of bring this from our living room to the stage. And yeah, thank you all for coming.
Hi everyone, echoing Esther, thanks so much for making time during your busy days to come here. My name is Shuo. I am actually an architect, and I started playing the piano when I was 6 years old. I had just come to the States from China, and my dad was a poor grad student and went to this yard sale, and they bought me a little electronic keyboard, and I really took to it and started taking lessons. And my first CDs that I own were a box set of the classical music that you were able to get at Costco back in the day, and so kind of that started a journey for me, and I've never stopped playing since then.
Hi everyone, my name is Joseph Kaizer, also a second-year resident in the Department of Psychiatry. Very thankful. Thank you all so much for coming again. I actually was born into a musical family where no one in my family had ever had anything to do with medicine. My parents were both pianists. My sister, who was an older sister, was a violinist, and so my father thought it would be suiting for me to play the cello so that we could play chamber music at home. And so every holiday, every special occasion, every time at home with the family was spent playing chamber music, and so this has just been a lifelong journey in music that eventually led me to medicine. And as Esther mentioned, we went to medical school together, and now we're here together. So thrilled to be a part of the reboot of the Mind.
Thanks so much. Just a final plug to point your cameras toward that QRS code and take the survey that Bilder has constructed for us, because we'll be turning this projector off in a moment. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Susan Ye. I work as an economist, and I play a lot of music for fun. And how I got started was I used to watch Sesame Street, and I think it was Sesame Street, but maybe it wasn't. I loved the set that Victor Borge did on piano. And it made me want to play the piano, surprisingly. And so I started on piano, and eventually I saw that all of my friends at school were playing in orchestras, so I just wanted to be around that. And that's kind of been a constant in my life through career changes. But I'm very happy to be here today.
No further ado.
Maybe just a few brief words about the pieces on the program. We're going to start off with a piano quartet by the German composer Robert Schumann. We thought it would be fitting to include some of Schumann's music, as I'm sure many in the room are familiar with Kay Jamison's books about artists who have been diagnosed or believed to have had bipolar disorder, and Schumann was included in the book Touched by Fire. Schumann dealt with hallucinations his whole life, and eventually admitted himself into a psychiatric hospital in Germany. But this piece in particular was written shortly after his wedding to the love of his life, who was a virtuoso pianist. And you can hear the joy in this first movement of the piano quartet. He kind of plays, he mingles with this kind of ebb and flow of like a chorale, which is very peaceful and still, and then all of a sudden it just bursts into like joy and energy that is very creative and spontaneous. So this was the first movement of the piano quartet by Robert Schumann.
So I'll just go without the microphone. So so that was the first movement of the piano quartet, and the third movement is one of the most beautiful pieces of music that Schumann wrote. This is the Andante cantabile, which is full of love, and it is beautiful in the way that it passes the melody from the cello to the viola, the piano, and it's a beautiful example of how chamber music can work with so many voices at the same time and in perfect harmony. So, without further ado, this is the slow movement from the piano quartet.
So this next piece is a piece written by Fritz Kreisler, who was a Viennese composer, also a doctor, but didn't really practice medicine for very long because he later realized that his true calling was as a violinist and as a composer. So he wrote a series of just really lovely short pieces for violin and piano, one of which we will play. The title of this piece is called Liebesfreude, which means in German, love's joy. So this is for violin and piano, Liebesfreude by Fritz Kaizer.
you'll get to hear each one of us separately. It's a part of the program where you get to really hear the different colors and flavors of each instrument. Now, featuring Susan here on the viola. We'll introduce her next piece.
We will be playing another piece by Robert Schumann. It's the Adagio, and it was originally written for piano and horn, and has been transcribed for viola.
I wanted to play because, as I said, I was from a musical family, and part of the reason I made the transition from music to medicine was my mother became ill and later passed while I was in medical school from complications related to Alzheimer's disease. But while she had dementia and was unable to tell you where she was or who was in the room with her, she could still sit at the piano and play the accompaniment for this song. And it was something that she played ever since I was a little boy, so very special to me. This is a piece called The Swan from the Carnival of the Animals. Interestingly enough, it was written by Camille Saint-Saëns in the late 1800s. French composer, apparently a vegan. He loved animals. He wrote this piece for 2 pianos and an orchestra. And it was very colorful, and every movement was supposed to mimic a different animal. And the penultimate movement is this piece. And curiously, it's just a beautiful piano obbligato, just kind of painting the picture, the backdrop of just shimmering water with a cello solo, just singing on top. So without further ado, this is the Swan.
So thank you again for coming. I will be concluding the program with a solo piano piece. This is an arrangement of the spiritual Deep River by African-American composer Samuel Coleridge Taylor, not to be confused with the British poet Samuel Taylor Coleridge. And so this is all for you in honor of Black History Month. So I hope you enjoy Deep River.
I didn't prepare anything ahead of time. I just, it's the connection between the music and the mind that, as I mentioned, alluded to before, with my mother, was, it was so profound the way that music was able to tap into a part of the mind that otherwise couldn't be accessed. And some of you are well familiar, but Esther and I, the conduit into medicine was we would go out and play in Alzheimer's care centers when we were in music school, and every single time it was just astonishing. The individuals who otherwise wouldn't be able to walk or talk, communicate, would hear music and be able to sing along and stand up and come over and greet you after hearing 5 minutes of music. And it's something that we continue to see every day, just individuals who depend on music to take to away from the everyday struggle and kind of obstacles that we face. And so, yeah, it's something that I think is extremely powerful and just really an honor to be a part of it today. So thank you all.
For me, music is a release. I have struggled a lot in school and in work, and I get very stressed out. And every time when I go back to playing music, it feels like therapy and exercise. And it's so refreshing, and I would say it's probably the one constant in my life that's really kept me going through hard times. So I very much appreciate getting to play for all of you today, too.
I echo what both Joe and Susan said just a minute ago. For me, music is a way to rejuvenate. We all have very busy lives, and we all do other things, and it's so easy to get caught up and just not take time for ourselves. And music just helps me reset and have a special time with friends. Music is the universal language. It's a way that our spirits connect with each other, and it's just it's a very special conduit to communicate. And I'm just really happy that y'all are here, and just honored for my friends to be here with me on stage, playing for you and sharing music with everyone.
For me, music is a deeply meditative experience. When I sit at the piano, and whether it's playing things that are kind of deeply etched into my brain from when I was a kid, or when I'm reading something new, whether it's passive or kind of more active, it's that kind of in the moment focus allows me to sort of drown out all the noise around me in the world. It's really, as Esther said, it's kind of a very necessary reset. And I've also found that the reason I value music so much as a constant that has accompanied me through, various different kind of periods of my life and various career changes, is that no matter what I'm doing music seems to unlock inspiration for whatever else it is that I'm doing, and so it's always giving more to my life in every way. So glad you guys can all be here to share this with us today. Thank you.
So I want to close by acknowledging some unsung heroes of mindful music, as well as all of the other good things that come out of the symbol. One person, we had a surprise visit in the audience from an unsung hero who actually has made our entire institute possible, and who I understand was the mastermind behind the original Mindful Music series when it launched before COVID, and that is Jane Semmel. Thank you. Bob Bilder told me to take the chance to acknowledge you. I know I've heard that Mrs. Semmel is not someone who takes up the limelight that works behind the scenes, and we couldn't appreciate you more. I just also wanted to mention some of our staff who have made this possible. I mentioned Ethel Rojas already, but if you were to be here, thank you, Ethel. Your talents are obvious here. Steve Fulton, Ernie Vasquez, Michelle Gonzalez, Laura Camarena, Janie Cisneros, Jason Liu. I know I've left out other critical people, but thank you. And do come and join us March 15th for Urban Voices, an a cappella group based in Skid Row. They're incredibly talented as well. We couldn't have asked for a better kickoff to this, so oh my goodness. I had no idea that you're all so local to us. What treasures you are. So join me in thanking them again.